tragic. Demons appear like magic. Money long so elastic. Foreign fabrics to fashion.
I'm itching for money, cash addict. Secure drawn in my pockets like Titanic. When I get on the beat, it's Jurassic. Little niggas don't want static.
Wavy come like tsunami and drown you with the drip.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So the topic of this video is actually pretty interesting because I've started recording this like 2 or 3 times over the past 2 weeks because my answer has shifted to like multiple players. And if for some reason you just don't know what I'm talking about, you just didn't read the title before clicking on this video, we're going to be talking about who the most disappointing Detroit Piston is so far this year. And I know in a team that's like 6 and 18, you feel like, oh, you could probably just pick any player. The team sucks. Well, not necessarily. I think there's some players overachieving actually. They just weren't expected to do much of anything anyways. I think players like Mason Plumlee, DeLon Wright, even Josh Jackson are players who have overachieved when they weren't really expected to do a lot anyways, specifically Mason Plumlee and DeLon Wright. So I think there are actually some players on this team who have overachieved and actually having good seasons, even though the team record is pretty bad. And before I go any further, I want you guys to go to the comment section down below right now and tell me who you guys believe is the most disappointing Piston this season. But for the most disappointing Piston on the roster, I think a lot of people think it's such an easy answer. And I think the easiest answer anybody will go with is obviously Blake Griffin. And while yes, Blake Griffin has been hella disappointing, especially for a guy like me who was all offseason talking about he was going to have this bounce back season, which is absolutely not the case. I don't think that Blake should be the answer here. So once I moved past Blake on the first attempt to record this video, my next answer was going to be Derrick Rose because I had pretty high expectations for him. I think the team also had high expectations for Derrick this season, not just because of his on-court performance, but because of what they thought they were going to be able to fetch for him in the trade market, which obviously wasn't the case because this year they only ended up getting a second round and Dennis Smith Jr., which he's a fun project, I guess, but the team after last year's performance thought they would get something like a late first rounder at the very least for him, and he just really struggled on the court with his ball handling. He never got back to the form he was last year. Obviously, hopefully he gets back to that, but he just never was able to get to that point for the Pistons this year, and he wasn't even able to get them what they thought in the trade market like probably they would have gotten for him last year at the trade deadline. But then I moved past Derrick as well, so that scratches off Derrick and Blake Griffin, which is a good thing because I think this led me to what should have been the answer all along for the Pistons. Who is the most disappointing Piston on the roster this year? And that answer, ladies and gentlemen, is... drumroll please. Svi Mykhailiuk. Svi started 27 games for the Pistons last year and shot 40% from deep on 5.1 attempts per game. After struggling in the preseason and struggling to get minutes right out the gate for the Pistons, Svi quickly turned into one of the bigger focal points on this team and quickly established himself as one of the main pieces of their young core. He was voted into the Rising Stars Challenge game. We had people in the summer, including Dwayne Casey himself and other people within the Pistons, say that Svi is basically Luke Kennard and can fill in those roles if Luke is moved. We even had some people in the Pistons fan base saying that Svi was straight up better than Luke and would prove that with more minutes because of his quick trigger. We even had Greg Kelser say about the Pistons bubble training camp thing, whatever you want to call it, before the draft, that Svi looked like the best player in that entire little training camp they held. You add all of that up, all the lofty expectations that people were throwing on Svi, and add that into the fact that this is supposed to be his contract year before heading into restricted free agency. This was supposed to be a big year for Svi. And so far this year, he has come nowhere close to fulfilling those expectations and has been easily the most disappointing Detroit Piston on the roster. So earlier I mentioned that he shot 40% from deep last year in 5 attempts a game. This year he's shooting 31% from deep on 4 attempts a game. That's just a massive drop off, and he went from being one of the best shooters in the league to shooting below average from deep this year. He went from playing a lot of minutes last year and starting 27 games for the Pistons last year to starting 0 games this year and barely cracking 15 minutes a game this year. He struggled shooting massively this year. It's been really shocking to see Svi struggle shooting like he has this year. He hasn't lost his confidence. He's still launching whenever he feels like he has any wiggle of space. He's just not hitting his shots, and it really sucks to see for him. Obviously, it sucks for him because this is supposed to be a contract year for him. It's like the worst possible time to have these kind of struggles pop up. But there's actually another reason why it sucks for me to see him struggle like this shooting wise. And that reason is I honestly feel like that you can see that Svi has gotten better at every other area on offense this year. Like you can see that he put in a ton of work to get better in other areas on offense. I feel like he's getting to the rim much better. I feel like his ball handling has improved. I feel like his finishing around the rim has improved. I feel like his decision making at the rim has improved. He's passing, he's finding a lot of players on the perimeter. I feel like he's causing defenses to collapse more than he did in last year. It honestly really sucks to see because I feel like that you can clearly see that he put so much work this year or in the offseason to try to improve his game and expand his game. And I honestly feel like you can see that it's just that the main part of his game that makes him any type of a good player is not following up with him. And it seriously sucks to see for him. Like, for example, and while this is a small sample size, yes, because he's only played 23 games, and obviously he hasn't played as much this year as he did last year, but his 2-point percentage last year was 42%. This year, it's nearly 58%. Last year, he was shooting 57% from 0 to 3 feet of the rim. This year, he's shooting 75% from 0 to 3 feet at the rim. Like I said, it is a small sample size, obviously, but I think even the eye test backs this up if you've watched speed at all this year. He just looks so much comfortable, so much more comfortable, I should say, getting to the rim, finishing at the rim, finding people on the perimeter, collapsing the defense, shooting from basically anywhere outside the three-point line. It just looks like he's improved every area of his game so far, and the three-point shooting is holding him back from blossoming, and it really just sucks to see for him. It's still somewhat early in the season, and hopefully he can turn it around and still become part of the Pistons' future, or at least get paid in the offseason, which I really hope he does it. But so far this season, I don't have a choice but to put him as the most disappointing Piston on the roster. And that's all I've got for you guys today. Like I said earlier, make sure you guys put down in the comment section down below who you guys believe is the most disappointing Piston on the roster this year. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up down below, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below as well for me. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And that's all I've got for you guys today, and until my next video, I'll see you guys later. Go Pistons.